Have mercy on me, a sinner.
Another Gears of War game has hit the shelves, and while it has nothing to do with the popular Marcus Phoenix, it does show us what happened at the beginning of the Locust War, and has Baird and Cole in the centre of it all. This time around, the story follows the Kilo Squad, which consists of the before mentioned Damon Baird and Augustus Cole. Joining them to help in the fight against the Locust is Garen Paddock, an ex-enemy of the COD, and Sophia Hendrick, who struggles to fit in this predominantly man's world. The game starts off with the Kilo Squad being arrested and put in front of a tribunal of sorts. The reason for this is because Baird and his team disobeyed direct orders, which ended up saving thousands of lives, Marcus Phoenix included. The first 2/3 of the game takes place before the Kilo Squad was arrested. Each character takes it in turn to explain what led to their arrest, which in turn leads to us playing as each character while they reminisce. The main villain this time around is a Locust named Khan, and while he is a massive threat to the cogs, we actually barely ever see him, which means there is no fear when you actually face him in battle. The main story is only 6 to 7 hours long, but Epic have also added a second much smaller campaign called Aftermath. Aftermath takes place during the end of Gears of War 3 and once again follows Baird and Cole on their journey to get a boat so they can help Marcus and Dom. Aftermath also does a good job at explaining what is to come of Sophia and Paddock, which I mentioned before. While this story is only around an hour long, it is well worth it. Gears of War Judgment remains a third-person cover shooter, and while the recipe is the same, they have added a perfect amount of ingredients to keep the game fresh. The biggest feature they have added to the campaign is the declassified side missions you can find at the beginning of each chapter. You have the option of either skipping these missions or accepting them. If you accept them and complete them, your overall rating in each area will increase. However, completing them is easier said than done. Some of these declassified missions will cause you to die if uncompleted, while others make it so your vision is blurred, making it harder to see. While these missions do not add to the story in any way, they do change things up a little bit and are reasonably fun. The best part of the gameplay is the mini horde modes they have added in the campaign. Yes, I'll repeat that, they have added a horde mode in the campaign. In certain parts of each chapter, you'll be given a task to defend a certain area. You do this by setting up automatic turrets in a place you think best, and by also setting up traps with a crossbow that shoots lasers that when crossed, explode. While there are only 5 chapters in the game, they are split up into multiple sections. After each section, a star rating will pop up. You are rewarded for headshots and executions, and points are deducted for being downed. This is a good way to keep things difficult, and to help you aim to play the game as professionally as possible. However, after each section, we are provided with a new mini cutscene, where you are either opening a door or chainsawing a lock, and it does get noticeably repetitive after you have done it 20 or 30 times. When you replay the story or die in the middle of the game, you will notice that instead of maulers, for example, bloodhounds will now spawn. This is a really great bonus to the game. It keeps things fresh and unexpected, and just might help you by giving you the monster you prefer. In each Gears game, they add new weapons and monsters to keep it fresh. The weapons they have added, while simple, are actually very effective. They have added new 2 snipers, including a long range one and a medium range one with no scope. The best added weapon is the Bushka, which is best described as a boom shot with more rounds. Because you can only take 2 weapons at a time, it really makes you try to guess what weapon would be best suited for each section. As well as those weapons, all of our favourites from previous games have returned. The most helpful feature of the game is the ability of being able to equip the shield and a double-handed weapon at the same time. Just imagine what kind of damage you can do with a Gnasher shotgun and a shield. Apart from the boss fight, they've only added 1 monster to the game, and personally it's my favourite monster yet. It's called the Rager, and while he looks like a skinny locust, if you don't remove his head, he will turn into a smaller version of a berserker. In terms of graphics, Judgment is definitely better than the previous Gears of War games. The colours are amazing, and like always, there is so much detail around the levels. Horde mode remains in the game, and once again they have changed it, and for the better. This time around, instead of trying to stay alive for as long as possible, you now have to defend objectives. Locust hordes will rush you and try to destroy the objectives, and each time they do, you get pushed back to another spot. Get pushed back too many times before the 10 waves are over and you lose. Successfully defend at least one of the objectives and you win. It's that simple. To help change things up, they have also added 4 different classes. The medic can throw health grenades and pick you up. There is also an ammo supply who gets the booster grenade launcher. You also have a character that can spawn turrets and repair them, and also a sniper that can spot enemies for the rest of the team. The new Horde mode is much better than the previous games and seems to be much more challenging. Like in every Gears game, multiplayer is one of the biggest parts. There is only 4 maps for now and 4 different game types. You have your standard team deathmatch, free-for-all and domination. In Overrun, 2 teams take turns to destroy objectives. You attack as the Locust and defend as the Cogs. The multiplayer is basically the same as its predecessors, except now grenades stick to people when thrown at them. Overall, this Gears experience was a pretty solid one. The story didn't have a wow factor like the previous Gears games did, but it held its own and had an interesting storytelling technique. The gameplay and judgment is probably the most fun I've ever had in a Gears game due to its new features. The Horde mode once again has evolved for the best, and the multiplayer remains fun despite being almost exactly the same. I rate this game a 9 out of 10.